During the course of the campaign, there's been a lot of discussion about transportation and traffic congestion, whether or not the state should have moved ahead with building the Red Line. If any of you were elected governor, what would your comprehensive transportation program look like, including public transportation and highways? But also, would that include rolling back any of the governor's toll reductions or his proposals to widen with toll lanes 3 major highways in the state of Maryland? In 30 seconds.
You know, when it comes to transportation, Governor Hogan, like on so many other issues, is stuck in the 1970s. He's literally trying to make every mistake that Los Angeles made a long time ago. We need to learn. We need to move forward. We need to be smart. When I'm governor, we will have a 21st century plan. We will focus on expanding public transportation, making MARC run more frequently and expanding its network, doing the same for Metro, reviving the Red Line and upgrading the Purple Line back to the Purple Line from the Lavender Line it has become.
Mr. Jealous, thanks very much for that. Going to be tough to get these in 30 seconds. Ms. Irvin.
I see the state in a kind of a different way. I think that transportation is a regional issue. And here in Baltimore in particular, when the governor cut $800 million from the Red Line, he sort of took away what would have been the sort of the undergirding of a system for the Baltimore region. I believe that when he cut the toll lane, the price of the tolls, he actually cut the transportation trust fund by some $58 million. And his plan to widen 270, where Rich and I live, is a pipe.
Thanks, Ms. Irvin. Senator Madalena.
Thank you. I agree with Valerie that there are regional issues that differ in different parts of the state. In the Baltimore area, you need a focus on mass transit. You need to make sure that the system that we have is actually grown. The Red Line would have connected the Metro line and the light rail line that currently exists. We got to move back to that. We need to invest in the road infrastructure of the city. The city is the only jurisdiction in the state that doesn't have any state roads. The state needs to be a partner with helping the city fix its infrastructure because that has a huge impact on the economic growth of the state of Maryland.
Mr. Jones, on transportation.
Yesterday I had a lady complain because, you know, she catches the bus to work, and her complaint is that she don't know what bus to catch anymore. It looks like we're trying to copy what they're doing in D.C. So you have the orange line and this and that. So I think what we need to do is get with MTA and the people, and that way we'll have a better idea of what the people want and what's going to be good for the people, what's going to work for them.
Ms. Vignaraja.
When I grew up in a basement apartment in Edmondson Heights, we couldn't afford a car. And so my father would walk to Edmondson Heights and hop on a bus. And that was the difference between a family of 4 being on welfare versus my father's teacher salary. As governor, I will make sure that we invest in public transit, the Red Line, the Purple Line, better MARC and Metro, but also make sure that we invest in better buses, but also make sure that we have smarter roads by having reversible lanes as well as supporting ride sharing.
Mr. Jaffe, on transportation.
The answer really is to make the mass transit system safer. Unfortunately, many people feel that if you ride the bus, you're in danger. They don't even have a security guard on these buses. And we have to make the system safer so people will feel like using the buses or the subways. Money's not the answer. We spend too much money on wasted programs that don't work. Make the transport system better and safer. That's what we need.
Mr. Baker.
Thank you. Like this on so many issues, Governor Hogan has 2 ideas there, bad and old. This is an example of it. Yes, we should bring the Red Line back. That's why I supported in the very beginning. But we also have to invest in mass transit options in the Baltimore region and in the Washington region. His idea with 270 will never happen, and he knows that. That's just an election year gimmick. But we need to actually bring back transit options to those 2 areas where we see the job growth.
Mr. Shea.
For many years, over 10 years, I've led a coalition fighting for mass transit. Growing out of that, we have a statewide transportation plan that calls for better mass transit within the greater Baltimore area, better connection between Baltimore and Washington, and better transportation within the greater D.C. area. We also have plans for Southern Maryland, the Eastern Shore, and Western Maryland. We need to connect the state with a great transportation system, not balkanize it into individual parts.
Mr. Shea, thank you. Now back to number one position, Mr. Ross.
For many of you who are watching this evening, you live life with soul-crushing commutes. And I feel you. I spent 13 years on the MARC train. And one thing I know we can do is let's focus in on the MARC train for a moment. If we turn that into a world-class rail system, increase the frequency, increase the speed, massively enhance what's being done with the Brunswick line, connecting Frederick and Washington, we will get a lot more cars off the street. We will make our streets less clogged up. We will make transportation and commuting a little less soul-crushing in Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. If there are no further rebuttals on that question, Mr. Jaffe, you have one, and this is your second rebuttal that you've used.
Yeah, I'm concerned about, again, the red line, I understand would cost something like $2.9 billion. Could we take some of that money to have more classroom teachers? Could we take some of the money, hire more police officers, more firemen? Wouldn't that be nice to do that? That's what I think we need to do.
Mr. Shea, I believe you also have a rebuttal.
Yes, the question also asked about Larry Hogan's plan to widen the highways. I think that is exactly the wrong direction to go in. All the studies show that if you widen highways in very short order, you will have the same congestion, just with more cars and more environmental damages. The only thing Larry Hogan has done in the transportation area is to widen 404 so that Marylanders could leave the state and spend money in Delaware. It's not good policy.